Today we are going to Mount Washington, to the summit of Mount Washington. In fact, I just drove by the turn. Let's turn around and go back. Oh, we may never get there. All right, so we're pulled into Bretton Woods. Check both ways. Let's try this again. You don't need to look at me, so we'll see where we're going. Cog Railway, 6 miles. All right. Here we go. So once we get to the top, I'll give you some information about the mountain. It's pretty cool. It has a Mount Washington Hotel, of course, in front of it, which we won't see on this road. And it looks like it's supposed to be a fairly warm day for the top of Mount Washington, somewhere in the 50-degree range, 55 degrees. So it should be quite comfortable. And it sounds like the wind will be fairly low. Years ago, we went to the top, and I had my daughter with me, and it was a windy day, and she was at the time probably 60 or 70 pounds soaking wet, and we were concerned. We had to hang on to her. It was so windy, it seemed like she was going to get blown away. So let's go. Oh, it's a little cloudy up there. We'll see if we can, what we can get. We've bought tickets for the Cog Railway. They were $75 a person for the biodiesel train. There's also the wood-fired train, which is another $15, $20 more. So that's more for ambiance. So here we go. And there's no drones allowed from this point on. So there won't be any drone footage. It'll all be a camera. I think they still allow that. I thought maybe the foliage would have kicked in more here because we're up upper elevations, or getting in upper elevation. But there's a lot of softwood trees here, so they don't really lose their leaves or needles. Right now, the temperature is 74 degrees, is what my temperature gauge says in the truck. It just dropped to 73. About 50 years ago, this reminds me a little bit of climbing. I climbed Mount Rainier out in Washington State with my cousins. This is nowhere near as big as Mount Rainier, but the idea of the mountain virtually just about filling your windshield is pretty awesome. Currently, there's a big controversy going on about Mount Washington. The people that own the Cog Railway want to do a small development at the top of the Cog, or just below the peak of the mountain, so that it sounds like it would be train cars. They would stay there overnight with people that could sleep in the train cars. I think there would be 6 of them, so it could hold, I don't know, I'm not sure how many, 50 or 100 people could spend the night on Mount Washington, which can be pretty scary depending on the season. Weather moves in pretty quickly up here. There are views on both sides of that, from the environmentalist side, the fish and game side, the state side, and the developer side. They're all wanting to preserve the mountain, but they also want to have it available for people to stop and see the mountain. 70 degrees. So it's dropped 4 degrees in about 2 miles. 69 degrees. 68. Wow, it's dropping like a rocket. Or dropping like a hot potato. I'm getting, my blood pressure's going up. I'm getting kind of excited, getting goosebumps. Here we are. Bus parking, hiker parking, all traffic. Let's see what we got. I don't know if their main parking lot is full or not. Looks like we'll have to park down below, but I wanted to at least get a look at the buildings. And we did. All right, we'll go down and park and then come up and take a look around. Hey, so this is fun as we get ready to head up the mountain. There's my daughter and 6 Corvettes. And a honkin' cog railway. Can't wait, let's go. So that's one of the cog railroads that goes up the mountains. So way down there is the Mount Washington Hotel.
I agree.
So here we are at the base of the cog railway. Souvenirs, Marshfield Station Restaurant and Museum. Should all be very interesting. The time is getting close. Let's see, our tickets for 1 o'clock, currently 12:36. Let's go in and check in. All right, so this is what it looks like up close. There'll be one train and one engine. Everybody's loading on the B train.
So, by the way, if you have any questions along the way, I'm always open to question and answer. I'll do what I can to answer questions about the car, about Washington, or the area in general. Here we are. That's Engineer Nick announcing our departure from the base station area. And we are on our way. We are at cruising speed. Ready? 5 miles an hour. Yeah! No. See, I can hear it. People back there saying, Scott, don't get so excited. It's just 5 miles an hour. Come on. Well, I'm going to turn the clock back so that we can appreciate 5 miles an hour. You see, the cog railway began construction in 1866. 3 years later, in 1869, July it was, in fact, when we started bringing passenger traffic up to the top of the mountain. And what we had in those days was a wood-fired steam engine. It was called pepper sass. It's on display down there on the side of the road. And it went 1.5 miles an hour. Now, to get from the base to the top, it took over 3 hours for pepper sass to get there. Now, these wood-fired steam engines were in service for about 40 years. They were replaced with coal-fired steam engines. Of course, the coal burns a little hotter, produces a bit more power, and they were able to go about 3.5 miles an hour. This is the lower Waback switch. We're going to go onto this passing lane. The main line is on the left-hand side. This allows us to have trains coming up and down the mountain at the same time. All right, so here we are, Waback tank. This is the water tank that our 2 surviving steam engines use. They're still in service. One of them was built in 1875, the other in 1908. The 1875 engine was built here in New Hampshire, Manchester, New Hampshire. Now looking left, this is Waback Station, which is our summertime work project. We're building it. Really nice big new platforms and buildings here. This will be ready to go for our winter operations. Now here we have an engine coming down. Look underneath the cab, look underneath the engine. You can see one of the cog wheels spinning in the rack underneath. there is, so I had to move out to the side to have eye contact with my engineer way back in the back of the train. Up on the right, we have the halfway house, and the front of it is a reflection window, and underneath it you'll see the signage that this house is exactly level. Take a look as you go by. Doesn't that help with your perception of the tree? We're also on trestle, and we're going to be about 30 feet high at the highest point here in Jacob's Ladder, so give it a shot, everybody. You know, stand up, test yourself against 37-degree grade here. And it's a participation activity. Just looking over to the right, you can see across to the Ammonoosuc Ravine over there. There is a building over there, if you can see it on the shoulder. That's the Lake of the Clouds hut. That's where the two glacial lakes are for the source waters of the Ammonoosuc River. But here we are. How's that? Isn't that something? You can really feel it in your ankles. You know, this is a participation activity. You can't duplicate this with some video game. This is just terrific here. We're also exposed to a lot of extreme weather up here, a lot of very low temperatures and a lot of very high winds. Now, some people say that that's what stunts these trees' growth, but I look at it another way. I look at it that these trees are actually very strong and very tough, and they've adapted to these extreme weather conditions to live here. Notice these trees are also growing together in groups or clumps. You don't see solo trees, single trees out there growing by themselves. They've adapted to grow together so that they can all survive together. You'll see the actual summit of the mountain. There's a post in the ground there. It's clearly marked. Very good photo opportunity, by the way. There's a stone building up there. It's called the Tip Top House, which was a hostel here from about the 1850s. It still stands. They're renovating it. Maybe we'll be turning it back into the museum. Now, as I say, the weather station is manned up here 365 days a year. And of course, this state park building, the summit of Mount Washington, gets a lot of visitors over the course of a year. So what the excavators are doing here is they're kind of updating the sewage treatment plant here from the summit of the mountain. And Engineer Nick is going to be announcing our arrival here to the summit of Mount Washington momentarily. Here we are, Engineer Nick right on cue. So once we get up to the parking area, and I stop Engineer Nick, I'm going to establish a good departure zone for you, and then I'll come right back on, let you know that you're all good to go.
All right, so we made it up. Apparently our train is leaving. You can see it down there. Can you see that down there? Fortunately, there will be other trains, I hope. You can see the auto road down below it. You can actually drive all the way up here. So you can see the clouds kind of moving this way. Just a few minutes ago, or a minute ago, you couldn't see the auto road. It was just closed in with clouds. It comes and goes so quickly up here. I think they said there's something like 300 days out of the year it's cloudy, and you can't see a great distance because we're up into the clouds quite a bit. World record speed ever recorded happened here back in the 1930s. 230 miles an hour, 231 miles an hour, something like that. Pretty crazy. We're above the tree line. We got a lecture all the way up on the ride up. It's about a 45-minute ride up. Filled us in on a lot of things about the tree line and across winds occur. Comes from 3 different directions. It's pretty unique here. 3 major directions as well as 3 minor directions for wind. So it gets all kinds of directions of wind. You can see it clearing off down in the distance a little bit. Another train. Maybe that was our train. I don't know. So anyway, this is Mount Washington. Maybe we'll get a clear view before we head back down in another hour. The Tip Top House. That is nestled right in with rocks. You can see they really battened down the hatches for up here because of the high winds. Well fortified. To give you an idea of how much wind, they actually chained that building down. Huge winds up here. It's a very calm day today. So we made it to the summit, 6,288 feet. Tallest point probably in New England, and I don't know where else. All right,